All right, we're live. Second podcast today. First one you saw with Molly Tideback. I hope you enjoyed what we talked about on the Iowa women defeating the Washington State women today easily.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to start with some business first. I want to talk about hitting that subscribe button. We're up to 411. Keep them coming, guys. Keep those sub buttons being pushed and smashed, and whatever else you got to do, stomp on it. And also, don't forget to hit the like button right now while you're thinking about it, while I'm telling you about it. Hit that like button immediately, and you'll have that like taken care of. All right. And finally, share this podcast with all your web friends, all your websites, everybody, and send this to the Maryland fans. And then we might be doing a little Nebraska preview. We can send it to the Husker fans who are elated to be going to a bowl game. So let's go for it, buddy. All right, here we are. Okay, so we had a little scare. I mean, we got out to a pretty easy lead. Got a little scare in the middle there. You told me to be cool about it. We're gonna be fine. And we had a couple of. I think we added a couple of field goals and a touchdown to seal the deal. TJ Hall.
I think right after I told you that it would be, I think like right after I told you it'll be okay, Dean. Kamari Moulton ran for like 80 yards and a touchdown. So
was it 80? I don't think it was quite 80, but he ran quite a bit. 60 something, I think.
60 something, whatever it was.
Yeah, but anyhow, yeah. And TJ Hall gets his first career pick. I hope that helps his confidence level because he's been picked on all year whenever he's been in there, and sometimes he doesn't get to play anymore. Okay. Brandon says he's talking about Nebraska. We're not there yet, buddy. We're still talking Maryland. But hey, I will put it up as soon as we start talking Nebraska. Brandon's also a closet Nebraska fan.
Uh-oh.
But he's pulling for the Hawkeyes this week.
Okay.
He had a good week. His Iowa team won. The Oklahoma team won. And, I mean, God, did they ever win. They showed all Alabama. They don't, Anyway, and then, of course, Hawkeyes win. So, anyhow, getting back to what we were talking about. Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, TJ Hall gets a start because Jamari Harris is probably done as a Hawkeye this year. Probably won't play another game due to knee injury. Nothing to do with him saying, I opted out, I'm fully healthy, and I don't want to get hurt. All the news media people that put that out there, I think you were a little premature and standing by your words. Yes. I had one media person yesterday say, whether you call it opt-out or injury out, he's still not playing again the rest of this year. True, but there's a difference between opting out and getting out because of injury. And so, anyhow, but according to Kirk, Jamari, he did decide on his own not to play. He could have played. The coaches were okay with him playing. The medical staff cleared him. He just chose, and he said that they're okay with that, Kirk says, that the player has the final say so whether they play or not. So he chose not to play. He didn't want to play through injury. He wanted to get the injury fixed so that he can go on to the NFL. And quite frankly, I can't blame him. I was playing for probably a halfway decent bowl. I don't think we're going to Florida, but a halfway decent bowl if we can get that 8th win this week against Nebraska.
Yeah, so as far as Jamari Harris goes, I want to make sure that I say this, because I have a member of the sports media in my family, right? Father-in-law is a longtime sports reporter for the Florida paper here. So, this feels like sensationalism from some members of the media, in that maybe we're splitting hairs, right? Like Jamari is opting out for the rest of the season in order to whatever, versus, I mean, technically it's true if you want to say, well, he was cleared to play, the coaches cleared him, the doctors cleared him, and he's just choosing not to play at this point. Look, nobody knows their body as good as you do, right?
Yeah, and Kirk backed that up. He absolutely backed that up. And I'm sure he would like to have had Jamari out there if he was ready to go, but he definitely backed up. He definitely backed Jamari up, and yeah, his knees cleaned out, which is called a scope, guys. It's a scope. I've had that done. What they do is they go clean all the broken little bone pieces out of your knee that got broken from knee on knee. What do you call that? Bone on bone when your meniscus breaks. Where mine did, and then you just bone is bone and bone, and then you got little bone fragments, and that makes it more painful. So you go get that cleaned out. I mean, and so in some cases, like maybe in Jamari's case, they can put a fake meniscus back in to kind of help cushion that for him. But in my case, I did not get a fake meniscus. I just got to clean out.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's one of these things where if the truth is that technically, if he could have played yesterday, right? Like if he so desired to, and was comfortable doing so, he could have played.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, between him and Phil Parker and Coach Ferentz and the training staff and scheduling and the hospital, whatever, they may have determined that, from a rehab standpoint, and just what Kelvin is getting at here too, he wants to be able to get this resolved and be ready to participate at the combine. And another week or 2 weeks or playing through the bowl, that may have messed up that timeline in some way. So,
yeah. Well said. And while we're on media, saying things about players that weren't true, let's talk about Cade quitting the team. Supposedly, now Chad Lysico on his show with Scott Dockerman on Legends and Leaders. I don't know if you've ever listened to that, Paul, but it's a podcast.
Okay.
Comes out every Tuesday or Thursday. It's Thursday. I'm sorry. It comes out every Thursday. He hinted on his show, and they acted like they knew something about Cade, but they were saying things like, yeah, I think he's not going to play the rest of the year. He's kind of quit on the team, but we don't know that for a fact, but then they'll say, but we kind of know something, but we don't want to tell you, That's how that whole play played out. And Chad Lysico comes out after Cade comes out with his report, or the school did, and then I think Cade also did. He comes out and says, well, I stand by everything I said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a reason people seem to trust politicians, lawyers, and more than they trust the media anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's unfortunately for them. I mean, their business is clicks and likes and subscriptions, and I mean that's their livelihood. And so it seems like just reporting the news isn't enough anymore.
No, you got to have your opinion in there. But that's what podcasts are today.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them come out there, they'll give you the facts as they know them, and then they'll give your opinion about them, and then they'll act like they know something behind the scenes. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've lost a lot of respect for both Scott Dockerman and Chad Lysico on that, because I ran with it thinking that these guys usually know what's going on, and I ran with it, and I had a big old rant on it, which I've since deleted, about Cade giving up, and everything. And the fact is, and of course, that I'm hearing, and we've heard from our partner who's not here yet. Hopefully, he will show up. That he feels it's a mental break, that he's actually scared to even play anymore, which could be the case. But he supposedly had a setback in practice this week. I believe that's a concussion. You don't know how things react to the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just pure speculation on my part. But I just talked about the media and sensationalism. We have a team that was, 6-4. They're not in the playoffs. They're not in the Big Ten title discussion. They're not having a really great year. They're not having a really terrible year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of blah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you attract people to your news stories, to your websites, to your videos, to your, you say some sensational things.
Yeah. They want views. They want it and everything, and so, but yeah, here's something like on Scott Dockerman's and Rob Howell's. I think their show's on Thursday too, also, or Thursday, Wednesday. I don't know, one of those days. They had Mark Morehouse on, and the dude he's using the F word, GD word, everything, and sometimes using them together.
Oh wow!
Every other word, and I mean, it got hard to listen to. So I sent Rob Howe a little note and say, hey, I like how candid he is about, because he's really anti-Hawk right now, and down on the program and down on Kirk and everything. And I just liked how candid he was, because you don't get many media people out there willing to go out there on a limb and say that. And so, but I says, but his language, I says, it made it hard to listen to. And I said, I know you're probably going to just tell me don't listen if I can't handle it, or block me or something. And because in the past, when you write a note like that to them, they will block you. But he didn't do that, because he said, I would never do that to you, because I want listeners. That's what I'm here for, to get listeners and viewers. But he also said that I wasn't the only one that complained about the language, and he said that they would do that next time he was on the show, that they would discuss that problem with us. And so, all right, what does Mike got to say? Game will be close, as most Iowa and Nebraska games are. Third down efficiency will determine the winner. Okay, I'm going to go give Brandon his fair due, even though we're not ready to talk. We're not ready to talk about Nebraska yet, but if you got something to say about Maryland, we'll get to Nebraska after we're done with Maryland. Okay, so we'll get there, guys. Just hang on there. We'll get there. So anyway, let's go back and talk about the game itself. I mean, we've already talked about a couple highlights and stuff. Here we go. Jared. The running game. Wow. Was that efficient? I mean, 2 100-yard rushers. And they told us on TV yesterday. Do you remember the last time that happened?
200-yard rushers.
In the same game.
No, I don't remember.
Okay, I think it was 2017. It involved here he comes. The boss is here. He's here. Welcome, Jason. As you guys can see, Jason has finally joined us. Jason, I hope everything is okay. I'm sorry that we got started without you.
Oh no, everything's fine. You told me 7:00 Central, I thought.
Yeah, but I also texted you twice to let you know we changed.
I don't always have my phone on me, so
okay, no problem. You're here now. Now.
And we really hadn't gotten into too much anyway, other than just bashing the media for being the lying liars that they are.
They're insane. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a part of that, but because they're just insane. I'll go off. I'll do something stupid, but
That's fine. We've pretty much said our pieces.
Well, I mean, the thing is with these idiots, like they'll do anything for clicks, right? Mm-hmm. That's why I don't like them, because they lie, just because whatever's going to be the most negative thing, they'll say just to try to get clicks, right? Just to get views, because now they're making money off of that.
I swear it's like you were on the show, but you weren't on the show.
And Paul already said that.
Yeah. No, I mean, right. Yeah, I don't know, just they're just liars, because they're making money off of it, right? It's not about Iowa anymore. It's about what they can say and do to get the clicks. So
absolutely,
the Iowa media isn't really Iowa media. They're just media for clicks. No different than mainstream media, no different than everything else.
Yeah.
They pretend they have access to the coaches, but they're going to put their own narrative out there. So
the word I used was sensationalism.
There you go. I mean, that's a good word. Yeah.
All right. Let's get back to the actual game that took place, guys.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So the running game was on fire. We were just talking about the two 100-yard rushers. The last time that happened, I thought the announcer said 2017 or 2018. I don't remember. Do you remember, Jason?
I didn't hear a word you said, because the lighting in here is making my water look like a different color. Like this was supposed to be Evian water. Mm-hmm. So I was creeped out by the coloring of my water for a second. So I didn't hear a word you said. My brain went straight to, what am I drinking?
Yeah. I have best choice water with grape flavoring in it.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Well,
what
did you say?
Okay, so the announcer said, because we had two 100-yard rushers yesterday, the announcer said that that's the first time we've done that since, I think it was 2017. But I don't remember if it was 2017 or 2018. I could be wrong on both of them. And I don't even remember now who involved it. If it was 2017, it involved, or 2018, it involved Seth or
it was
Sean Green.
Did you just say Sean Green?
Yeah.
No. That was 10 years prior.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm remembering. I'm old, you know. This is what you guys are here for. Echo Wadley.
And Torrin Young.
Torrin Young. That would make sense.
He had one game against Middle Tennessee State, and he had like a 60-yard run or whatever in that game, and he had it over 100 yards. So Goodson and Wadley never played together. So I'll say it was probably Wadley and Torrin Young.
Or Goodson and Young. 2019.
I thought it was Goodson and Young.
If that'd be 2019 then.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
That wouldn't be 2018. That would be 2019 if that was
well, I thought one of them is involved, Wadley or Goodson. One of them's involved. I just don't remember. I wish I would have listened to the announcer more, but I'm watching on my cell phone. I was watching the whole game on this like this, trying to catch everything. And so
I'm not I don't know how you do that. I mean, I freak out when I'm not able to like watch the games and stuff. Like that's a part of my life. I'd just be going crazy. Wait a minute, right? So I actually game plan life around football season.
Well, I learned something today. I got to thinking right before the women tipped off today. I went on my laptop and downloaded YouTube TV on there because I am a subscriber to YouTube TV. I'll be darned. I can watch it on my laptop. So I got a bigger screen for the women's game today.
Yeah, I got YouTube TV on every device I have. Apple TVs that go from whatever. And then my smart TVs I have YouTube TV everywhere, so I can, wherever I'm at in the kitchen, I got a game on, like whatever I want to watch. Like I legit, the only thing I do without a TV is go to the restroom. That's it.
Here's Jared. Jared goes, I didn't know that Iowa had decent backup quarterbacks. I don't think Iowa knew it either.
I'm not sure they do.
I'm not sure they really do.
I will say that
the game plan was. I'll let you go, but when we get to the game, I'll talk to you about Iowa's game plan.
The Stratton did fine, but I mean, like, they didn't really ask him to do much, and what little they did ask of him to do,
he was pretty efficient.
Didn't do anything colossally stupid. So, I mean, if that's the bar.
Like I said on my live, I mean, the game plan was actually perfect for him because all the reads were simple. There were so many stock routes, so it was basically like he was a pitcher. He literally was throwing like hook routes, like everything he threw, if you noticed, was essentially like straight to Gill on a hook route or straight to whoever on a hook route. Like very few passes. I mean, even on slants, he didn't throw very many. There was very few throws on the move, with the exception to the tight ends, right? The game plan was perfect for a quarterback who is very accurate, but he doesn't have to think too much, and he just has to see it and just throw it straight at the guy. There was no leading the receiver on most passes. The game plan it was just really good. I liked it. Maryland played off for whatever reason, which let them run the ball so well. Like they didn't watch the UCLA tape or the first half of the Michigan State game. Like they didn't do the UCLA defense until the end of the fourth quarter.
Sorry, guys.
Right? You're fine. Mute yourself, dang it. Come on, Dean. Mute yourself.
Mute yourself.
Yeah, the game plan was perfect for Jackson. What did he finish with? Like 10 of 14 passing or something? 80 yards, maybe?
I can find out real quick. I have it right here.
I mean, as good as the defense is, I assume since the defense was playing well, they didn't feel the need to do anything drastic with the quarterback, right?
Right. You know, and
he was 10 for 14, 76 yards. 14 was his longest pass, and he got sacked once.
Yeah.
The way the wind was whipping yesterday at Maryland, I mean, Mike Locksley he's just a terrible game day coach. He really is. You've got, a damaged quarterback with a bum thumb on his throwing hand. And then you bring in your backup quarterback, and at some point, this is the Big Ten. You've got to be able to run the football in November in the Big Ten. And he was just adamant that they were just going to keep throwing the football.
I mean, you read my mind so often, Paul. It's hilarious. Or you watched my live and didn't say anything. Well, I talked about that throughout the game. I mean, he is like I actually during my live I talked about how Locksley. I think Maryland's recruiting rankings are actually higher than Iowa's the last 4 years since Locksley got there. Locksley is one heck of a recruiter. He just doesn't know how to get the kids better, make them better. His game day coaching, like you said, is terrible. They've lost a lot of games doing the opposite of what Kirk does. They get this lead, but then they keep throwing the football, stopping the clock, and letting everything happen. Like tonight, my Broncos did the same thing. I don't know if you guys saw that. My Broncos.
No NFL games for me today.
The last 5 minutes of the game, they had a 10-point lead. They had the ball. What did they do? They threw the ball 3 straight times, stopped the clock. Raiders went down, kicked the field goal, 7-point game. So they get the ball back. 3 straight passes. So Raiders had 3 timeouts, 3.5 minutes to go, and they got the ball back down 7 because Denver wouldn't run the football. Wow. Well, that's Mike Locksley. I mean, Denver ended up winning, but the Raiders are terrible. So, we
don't want to give the Broncos any credit because they beat a horrible team.
I mean, but the way they were doing it was just opposite Kirk, and it made 0 sense. Right? I understand when people talk about in the second quarter when Kirk is so conservative. We can bring up some of Dean's comments during the game with Kirk's conservativeness, if you remember. But
did you actually read that? Because I thought you were so busy with your live.
No. I actually I told Kelvin live. I told everybody on the live about one of your comments. I'm like, uh-oh. Dean needs somebody to call and talk him off. He's going crazy.
Talk him down.
But I understand at some aspect when fans get frustrated with Kirk's conservativeness, right?
Mhm.
But he knows what he's doing, especially the last 5 minutes of a game, right?
Yeah.
He will do whatever he can to keep that clock going, make you use all your timeouts. I mean, there's a reason when Iowa has had an 8-point lead, they're like 75-3. I think the Iowa State game was the first time they've lost having a double digit or an 8-point or more lead, right? So that was the third loss. And the last two are from 2020, the Northwestern game. The famous 50 pass game comes to mind.
Yes. Yes.
So
yeah, that was that's when Kirk seemed to get ultra conservative after that on the run game.
Well, I mean, yeah, when you lose the game up 17-0, you throw the ball 50 times and none of it made sense.
Right.
So Kirk was like, Brian, we ain't doing this stuff again.
That's probably when he told Brian what plays to start calling.
Well, he's always done that as far as situations. He doesn't call plays. He just says,
I know that.
right,
I know that. I just throw that out there.
Jared's absolutely right. I don't know. Oh, look at Kelvin. Kelvin's. Oh, I think he said that during the game as well, because I was talking about Loxley and what they were doing didn't make any sense. And he did. He said Brian told Loxley that, oh, Dad don't like running the ball, so they were playing off and letting Iowa run the football, and it made zero sense.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I kept
Kelvin
waiting for KJ to bust a big one, but at least the other one did. He busted a big one.
Yeah, I mean, it was going to happen eventually. I wish it was KJ just because he deserved it, getting 35 carries. But it was going to happen eventually with Iowa just pounding.
Yeah.
More just happened with that carry.
KJ didn't have the huge explosive, but he had multiple carries of like 12, 14.
Or 7.
I mean, the running game was working.
Yeah. He also had the carries where when they actually, this is what I didn't like him getting the ball. Iowa was up by a lot. And the funny part is that's when Maryland started playing like UCLA. Remember that play where KJ lost 5? Well, hell, they sent 10 guys. They knew we were running the football. But they didn't do any of that during the game to stop KJ or any of the running backs.
Yeah, they didn't do any of the UCLA defense at all.
So KJ, he lost a couple 4 or 5 yard runs, right? He basically had a game like Goodson in the old days. Yeah. Goodson, I was talking about Goodson today as far as he averaged like 5 yards a carry with like having Barry Sanders type numbers where he would lose 2 yards, 3 yards. He would lose 4 yards on that dang zone play, right? The outside zone. So, yeah, KJ did. He runs, but there was something going on with Maryland. Maryland was talking, right? This was a different KJ. He didn't try to run around people like he normally did or even stiff arm. There's one play that comes to mind where he got outside. I'm like, oh, here we go. Let's see if we can outrun him. He ran right into the dude with his shoulder, and the other guy hit him. And he ended up bouncing out of bounds. He never went down, but he put his shoulder in, and they pushed him. 2 guys. So
why do you think that was? Why do you think he didn't run like he normally does?
Well, I think it had a lot to do with Maryland's mouths. I think that's a lot to do with Loxley as well. They were talking smack, and they were getting their ass kicked. I have never seen KJ so mad. Did you see him reacting, like talking smack the moment he'd get tackled, flipping the ball? Oh, yeah.
What's that mean, getting phone numbers for – what am I missing here? I'm slow at things,
No. This was completely between Kelvin and I. He did this on the live show. He was talking about Weejan.
Oh.
There was a couple times where Weejan fair caught the ball and he had like 3 guys like right in his face, and Kelvin was like, he's trying to get the phone numbers of the guys and all that. Kelvin was all about getting dudes' phone numbers during the game.
Yeah. What about that one kick? And I guess he must not have put up the fair catch signal, but it bounced and he tried to pick it up and run down the sideline there for a minute with all those people around. I thought he was trying to do his best imitation of Cooper from last year.
No, he didn't. fair catch or nothing. What he was doing was being an idiot. Like, did you notice he fumbled the ball when he picked it up, but he fumbled it out of bounds?
Yeah.
What he was trying to do was stop the ball from continually to roll. And the defender wasn't looking at the ball. The defender was looking at Weejan, right? So he thought he could just sneak around, grab, and go. Well, he snuck around, grabbed it, and threw it out of bounds.
Yeah.
And maybe that was a part of his plan. Maybe it wasn't to actually pick it up and run it. Maybe it was to – but I guarantee you there was a conversation on the sideline after that one. I guarantee it.
You know, Coach, if we could break down the running game for a moment, I don't know if this was a healthy bodies thing or a wrinkle or something but I noticed we had Hayden Large playing a lot of like tight end or wing back. And then he was hitting like the backside defense, like he
on traps and stuff like they used him like a pulling guard. So I mean, maybe it's because he was a better blocker, or maybe it's attrition. Like as far as maybe they're down a few tight ends, and they're deciding that the reason he plays fullback is because he's a good blocker. So maybe they used him like they don't use him. I guess they use him the way Iowa uses tight ends, but they never throw to him. Right? They use him like a fullback blocking tight end.
Yeah, right. Especially in short yardage situations, they like to do that a lot too. I noticed.
Yeah. So I think it could be either or. Maybe he's just such a good run blocker that maybe it's a change in who they have on the field, or maybe they're just tired of getting tight ends hurt, so they bring him out there to try for maybe less work.
He's a boy when he's pulling behind the line of scrimmage, and he's coming to hit that like backside defensive end or whatever. He's winning like a lot, or at least he won a lot yesterday.
No, he did. There was only one time that he completely whiffed, but I think it was because the guy he was supposed to block got too high right away, and he wasn't expecting it. So the guy actually took himself out of the play, so it still worked, but he completely whiffed. You could see the way he tried to block him, but when he went around the outside, you could see he was kind of a little frustrated, like crap, what'd I do? But the guy took himself out of the play.
Okay, I got a question for you guys. Who would and let me finish it before you answer. Who would be considered the player of the game? Our kicker for kicking 5 field goals, 2 of them 50 plus. Herkett for the 2 sacks that he nailed. The O-line for all the holes that they were pushing open. Higgins for all the tackles he had and playing through injury and sticking it out the whole game.
I mean, for me, it'd be the kicker. He hit 2 50-yarders.
And one at 49, so that's almost like 3.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So 3 close to 50-yarders. And then 2 of them, he didn't miss a field goal. For me, obviously he was the reason they won the game, right?
Right.
They won by what, 12? So I guess he's not
13,
the only reason.
I thought it was 16.
13, 29, 16, something like that.
I'm just guessing. Like I really
29 to 13, so that's 16 points we won by.
Okay.
So yeah.
There you go. I mean, for me, just the leg he had, I don't know. There's something about him. He reminds me of he's getting like Nate Kading type accuracy, but his leg is so much more. Like he literally has a freaking leg on him, a booming leg.
Yeah. It makes you wonder now if we could have used him in the Iowa State game to kick that 65-yarder, if he would have nailed it, because he would have nailed that 65-yarder in all 3 of those big kicks. That he had enough leg in it.
He also had the wind at his back. That wind was nasty. Yeah. But he also kicked the ball so hard that the wind, it didn't even push it to the right. Like the wind was blowing across as well. And the ball was kicked so hard, it just kept going straight. I was ready for the wind to kind of push it on those 50-yarders. Heck no, that ball was just flying through the wind.
And to his credit, he didn't play for the break, because sometimes they play for the break on that, and that's when they get in trouble.
Yeah, no, he did. Well, he knows he's got a strong leg.
Mhm.
Is Jared being serious or is he asking the question?
Which one?
The Maryland, the most penalized team in the Big Ten. I'm not
It looks to
sure.
me like he's asking the question: are they the most penalized team?
I mean, they. Oh, he does have question marks on there. I'm blind with it. Kelvin would probably know that. I don't honestly know that. But I mean, it would make sense with Loxley being their coach, right? He's just a free spirit, which is good in life, but on the football field, not so much.
Yeah.
So, which
It's a-
probably is why he's such a good recruiter. I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably why he's such a good recruiter.
And we got 5 old linemen who played all 72 snaps, no substitution. Should we name them the 5 Ironmen?
For me, my player, or in this case, players of the game, would be our 2 defensive backs, our 2 corners, Hall and Lee. I mean, Maryland had the number 1 passing offense in the Big Ten coming in. They've had success throwing the football against everybody. Now, granted, again, their quarterback, bum thumb, whatever. But, our defensive backs held up pretty well. I mean, they had their one receiver, number 10. He'll be playing on Sundays.
Oh, so. Felton. That's what I was afraid of. I said in our pregame, Felton scared the heck out of me. And he didn't do a whole lot until the fourth quarter or maybe late in the third is when he started getting his.
He had 6 catches for 57 yards. So
but
he didn't hurt us too bad.
2 touchdowns, though.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just looking at their passing yardage. I don't know what they averaged passing per game, but they had 129 between the 2 quarterbacks.
Well, he had 3,000 coming in. He had 3,000 yards passing coming in. So,
Do you think this game would have been different if Billy Edwards hadn't been hurt?
I think the game would have been different if Maryland would have tried running the football a little bit more. I mean, again, a quarterback with a bum thumb, his throwing hand. And when he goes out, you're reading your backup, who the announcer said was mobile, and they decided, hey, we're just going to keep trying to throw the football in 30-mile-an-hour wind. Like, it just stupid.
Well,
I'd be pissed
I think whoever made the call, Loxley, his offensive coordinator, Brian Ferentz, but to keep trotting your injured quarterback who actually can't throw the ball because he too has a hurt thumb, and then and then Phil Parker recognizing that we need to go after him, and they never really went after the other quarterback. Well, I think his name was Morris. They never really went after him, but they were after Edwards every time and putting that guy on his back and pretty much got him out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, again, and they had the little running back, and I can't think of his name, but he had a few nice carries when they actually ran the football. Hamby, I think, was his name.
Yeah, he's going to be an NFL player as well. Henby he's really good. Like, he's extremely good, and he's got speed, but they don't use him. I think we said that on the pregame show as well. I think he averages 5 yards a carry on the year, but he only has 500 yards rushing because they won't run the football. Like, make it make sense.
There we go on the penalty question. 105th in NCAA and penalties. Iowa's first. Nice.
And this will be, you go back to, I mean, Loxley is a terrible coach. I mean, if Kirk retired, I'd love for us to go get Mike Loxley as our recruiting coordinator, our director of player development or something like that. But I would not let him anywhere near game plans or game day decisions.
No, like I said, he's a free spirit, and he is on game day as well. So I think that's probably why he's such a good recruiter. I guarantee he lights up every living room he goes in, right? Mm-hmm. People just love him.
Yeah. And the fact that I don't know how many years he's been there, but he's been there for quite a few years now, and they've never really had a great season, and they haven't fired him yet.
Well, they won't. I mean, I don't think they may if he continues to do bad, but he's from Maryland. He went to Maryland. That's like his. I mean, it's going to take a lot for them to fire Loxley, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I like that, Kelvin. The George Raveling of football. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
that is a good thing. Before that, Mike says the general manager, since Tyler will probably depart once Kirk leaves. Well, I think once Kirk leaves, the whole staff goes with him, except for the ones who are actually trying to take his place.
I mean,
Then they'll go after they're not hired, if they're not hired.
I don't think they all will leave. I think Parker might leave unless they hire like Seth Wallace or Woods, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that could easily be a situation just like women's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I could completely see Woods or Wallace getting the head coaching job, keeping all the other coaching and replacing. Now, if Woods doesn't get it, I could totally see Woods leave for a head coaching job. Then he'll start interviewing for head coaching jobs. He may come back for another year with Wallace. Let's just say they pick Wallace.
Don't forget his son. His son's going to be a Hawkeye next year.
No, I understand that, and that might be, but he'll start to develop a resume to try to be a head coach.
Right.
Isn't Wallace our age, Paul? I think he's young.
Yeah,
I think he's in his 40s. So I could see if Wallace gets the job, Woods is like, well, he's going to be here another 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. And Woods, I know Woods wants to be a head coach, unlike Parker, where Parker just loves where he's at, making $1.5 million a year.
Yeah. He's probably told Kirk, the day you go, I'm going with you.
I mean, I always said that, but it just depends on who they hire. Like I said, I could totally see it in a women's basketball situation. Mm-hmm. Hire from within and keeping the whole staff.
Yeah. I think Mike here makes good sense. I think there's a reason why they made him assistant head coach as Wallace.
Associate head coach.
I think associate head coach, but I think Wallace will be first in line if he wants it, and they'll interview him. But I hope they just don't automatically give it to him, because I'm afraid with Wallace we get more of Kirk ball, and I'm ready for some exciting.
You're ready? Well, you're ready for losing? Like, what the hell? I mean,
not ready. I don't lose. I want this team to be. What I want to see this team is.
You want to be Nebraska. You want to be Wisconsin. Just admit it.
No, I don't want to be either one of them.
Let's go straight air raid. You know,
can I say I would like to be at Oregon or Ohio State? I would like to be in the same conversation with them. But national title contenders, Big Ten contenders every year.
Are you going to
saying, yeah, Fair Iowa?
Are you going to donate $20 million to NIL? That's all.
I don't have $20 million to donate to NIL. I donated my $200. I donated my $200 2 years in a row, and I might not do it this year.
Then they're not good. Then they're not going to get there. Is my point. You're trying to compete with a $20 million roster with Oregon and Ohio State. Mm-hmm. You're just going to have lucky years. But to stay with like somebody like Kirk, maybe open up the offense a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like the idea of maybe if Kirk waits another year or two, and rather than I don't think he'll ever see the end of his contract, but another year or two, and maybe Lester gets considered. I could see, I think Lester would be a good head coach, and he could be his own offensive coordinator.
He wasn't very good as a head coach at Western Michigan. No, give me Lester. I mean, give me Wallace or Woods. Okay. Or if we're gonna go straight crazy like Wisconsin did, going straight air raid, give me Colorado State's head coach. Would bring on Matt Mumme. Why can I never remember his name? He's a former Hawkeye. Why can I never? He played DB for Iowa in the 80s. Why I can never remember his name. But if you've seen how good Colorado State is doing,
I know who you're talking about. I could have told you the name if you hadn't said that you couldn't think of it, because now I can't think of it. But yes, but he's getting up there like around 60 years old too, so I don't think he's a viable candidate.
But he's not the same type of coach. It doesn't matter his age. Like, you just continue. He's not the same type of coach as Kirk. But if you've watched Colorado State, they run the air raid. Mm-hmm. But this year, since they have such good running backs, they are running the ball out of the air raid. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's interesting to watch.
Does Alabama fire DeBoer this year?
No. I mean, Norvell. That's his name. Jay Norvell, right?
Yeah, Jay Norvell. Yeah, but no, and when I say old, I'm not talking about old school type football or like Kirk ball. I'm saying old because we want somebody who's going to be around for a long time, not somebody coming in 4 years or 5 years and then leaving because he's old.
But he's only like 60 or 58, whatever. He'll be here another decade or more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Okay. So anyway, now DeBoer is a candidate. Okay. If we're going to go crazy, Jamie Chadwell should get a look. He's a winner. I don't know anything about him. Tell us about him, Jason.
Now somebody have to refresh. If he's the one that's the head coach at Texas A&M right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whoever he is, he lost to Vanderbilt.
Is that Jamie Caldwell? Where's he at now? I think he's at he moved up in the world this year, but I think he's at Texas A&M, and he's got them winning. But they also have a freaking $10 million roster. Like you got to have somebody at Iowa that can win. Oh yeah, that's right. He went to Liberty. Either way, you're right. I knew it was Coastal Carolina, but I get confused on which coach went to Texas A&M and which coach went to Liberty. They're both from small schools and did very well where they were.
Isn't that where that Signetti, didn't he come from Liberty?
He came from some kind of a school like that, but I don't know if it was that.
I completely forgot about. Well, see, I always get those two confused. Elko at Duke. I mean, but you got to have a coach that can win without a lot of money. We keep throwing all these names out there. Now, Jamie won at Coastal Carolina. They were a stud team, right? Mm-hmm. And their quarterback went to Notre Dame a year ago, and I was expecting big things, and he ended up sucking.
Okay, our guys have come through for us. It was James Madison University.
James Madison Liberty. I think they share campus. Like,
I mean, they all do, but yeah, it is. And he brought like 10 players from James Madison, Indiana.
Yeah, isn't that amazing that the players he bought with him were able to play in the Big Ten and do as well?
Well, I mean, if you've seen James Madison, he recruited like that at James Madison. Like there were studs the last 3 years, I think. Like they were a bunch of studs. I don't know how many they lost in 3 years, but it wasn't very many.
The Facebook meme. Oh, I saw that one. Did you guys see that video of that drunk Bama fan? You couldn't hardly understand him. He was slurring his words about Alabama losing and everything. I'll send it to you guys.
Oh, my God. You're so right again.
What?
Mike is tearing me up. He's so right, though. I'm getting all these confused. It's all the same area, like Paul said. It's all those schools are all the same. But Mike is completely right on everything he's correcting me on.
Yeah.
He did. And he was supposed, but it still goes the same way. And I was expecting big things from him at North Carolina State, and they suck. They are so bad.
I'm amazed and thankful that the people who watch us and listen to us actually are in tune to what's going on out there.
I mean, right. And normally I am, but I have issues up here. Obviously, you guys know. So, yeah, but I will admit when I'm wrong. And usually when somebody like Mike points it out, I will say, "Oh yeah, that's right." I'm not going to argue with you because you're right. So,
yeah, don't argue with Kelvin because he's right too.
Well, yeah.
There you go, Kelvin. Kelvin, I gave you your dues again.
I do have a lot of conversations with Kelvin as well. So yeah, he'll send something to me. I'll be like, "Oh yeah." Or
all right, guys. I think let's quickly move on to the Nebraska preview because we're not going to do a preview show this week. And so let's talk about Nebraska a little bit. We'll start off with Brandon's comment. By the way, you guys can hear him on most Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central on his Hawkaholic podcast. I promised I would give him a shout out, and there's your shout out, Brandon. I hope you're still watching. Okay. He goes, I think this will be a typical boring game. However, Iowa has the edge because of being at home. I got a question. Does them winning and become bowl eligible yesterday fire them up enough that they've got momentum and they're just ready to take on the world now? Or are they on such a high that Iowa's just going to like spank them?
Neither.
Neither?
Look, it was senior day for Nebraska, right? And a lot of those guys, those seniors especially, they wanted to be the group that ended, the longest bowl drought in among the Power 5 teams. Yep, they're going to go to a bowl. I mean, the last time they were in a bowl game, President Obama, was in the White House. So it's been an awfully long time. In fact, I think their last bowl game was here in Jacksonville at the Gator Bowl.
I think you're wrong on that. I don't think Obama was in the White House. I think it was Trump.
No, it was Obama.
Didn't Trump win 2016?
He did, but he didn't take over until January 20th or whatever of 2017.
Yeah, you're right.
Bowl game
Obama was at the end of his career.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I get it. I screwed that up.
Mike, I know he got hurt, but he really sucked before he got hurt. Like, it didn't hurt anything when he got hurt at NC State.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This question here on the Nebraska bowl game. Okay, so basically, Chad Lysico on his post-game podcast last night says this is about bowl pecking order. This game is about who gets the better bowl.
I don't even think that matters. I think because if we're talking non-playoff bowl games, and if you're a bowl and you're going, you've got a fan base in Nebraska that hasn't been to a bowl game since the last time Haley's Comet came around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's got all of these saved up in his brain.
I know it. He was waiting for the day that Nebraska finally went bowl game into a bowl game so he could bring all these up.
I mean, if you had a savings bond, it's matured now.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, at this point, I think there's a lot of bowls that are salivating over the idea of getting Nebraska. They've got the hot shot young quarterback. They haven't been, it's not like Iowa that, they have express flights from Cedar Rapids to Orlando and Tampa just because, we go to these bowl games every year. So, I mean, I think Nebraska is motivated to go play in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, right? Like they would be excited to go there. So,
I don't know. Let's listen to Mike here about what in a bowl. That's not on their minds at all. You're talking about a Cheez-It Bowl versus the Skittles Bowl.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Mike. 100%.
Kelvin.
Oh my gosh.
What I'll say, I mean, no, Jared, is it Jared that said Mike? No.
Jared, which one?
I heard somebody said something about Iowa's best bowl. No, if they beat Nebraska and finish 8-4, they'll be in Florida.
Yeah, they won't probably the July Quest Bowl. I don't think they'll go back to Nashville. Didn't they play Kentucky last year or
no,
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
We beat Kentucky 2 years ago. We lost to Tennessee last year, and 2 years ago we lost to Kentucky. We played them back-to-back years.
It depends on if the Big Ten gets 3 teams in the playoffs, and I think they will. And I think Iowa will end up going to the Gator Bowl or
can't be the Gator Bowl.
Okay, the Outback Bowl or the Capital One Bowl, whatever they call that stuff nowadays.
Yeah,
they'll be in Florida because they'll be 8-4, finish 4th in the Big Ten, guys. That goes by that. That's how bowls go, unless they want to choose you over teams that don't travel, right? Like Iowa would go above a lot of teams because Iowa travels, but we can't say that about Nebraska. Nebraska travels as well, and this is their first bowl game, since Abraham Lincoln was president. That
yes,
yes. They're gonna whatever bowl game they go to, it's gonna be like a home field. because they're going to buy all the tickets from the other team's fans as well, right? They're going to those fans are going to be like selling their tickets to Nebraska fans.
Yeah.
But
see, Oregon, Indiana missed their chance to make the Big Ten title game, and they'll easily beat Purdue next week. My question for you guys is are they out of the playoffs now?
Who?
Indiana.
I mean, I think so. I don't have any because of how bad they got beat. That well, how far do they? We'll find out Tuesday.
Yeah, how far they dropped.
I think that will say a lot. But they got spanked so bad that it's very because their schedule. If you remember, Indiana's schedule is like one of the worst in the country. The last time I looked, it was like 110th, right? So everybody is bragging up Indiana winning all that, but they had a worse schedule than Iowa has had in 2 decades. Like their schedule was completely awful. They were set up to do very well because they got a very good transfer quarterback, right? And they brought in a lot of transfers that were very good. So they were set up to do very well, but they only played Ohio State.
Like the only real team that they played, yes.
They missed everybody else, including Iowa. Like they legit had the easiest schedule, right? So if we're supposed to be talking about the Nebraska game, I'm sorry that I just went off.
Yeah, we just kind of went on a bold tangent here. Okay, I'm pretty sure James K. Polk was in office the last time Nebraska went to a bowl game. Okay, all right. Okay, besides, we all know about their quarterback. Guys, talk to me about running backs and wide receivers, tight ends. What do they got?
For Nebraska?
Yeah.
They got Fedoni at tight end.
No, they don't.
Still there?
No.
Big Mom. No, he's still there. Big Mama's mad though. I don't mind sharing this info because it's Nebraska related.
Okay, share it, buddy.
Big Mama Fedoni. Well, no, it's Grandma. Big Grandma Fedoni went off on Nebraska's coach because he only played 2 snaps. And then he did a false start on one of his snaps that he played, and they took him out after the false start and never put him back in.
Oh,
his playing time has gone down every week, and this week Grandma went off on the head coach. It was hilarious. I should have.
Does he have any eligibility left after this year?
Oh yeah.
Does he? Would he consider transfer portal to Iowa? Because Iowa will do him right.
No, but I don't want him. He's not very good. I said this, and I actually talked about on Twitter today about it with a bunch of people. I wish I had my coach hack Twitter because I could go back and show everybody all the conversation I had when Fedoni went to Nebraska. Like Nebraska fans were making fun of Iowa, calling us tight end U, and missing out on the number 1 tight end in Iowa, which he was. He was the number 1 ranked tight end out of Iowa the year he came out, but he wasn't very good. He drops a lot of passes. He gets hurt a lot, right? He was just so big. He played for Louis Central, and he was just bigger than everybody. He's just another one of those kids that you will never know how good he is until he gets in college, right? Because he was just so much better and bigger than the players he was going against in high school.
Right.
But he would still drop a lot of balls. So that's why I didn't like him. And he doesn't. He's a guy. He's a Noah Fant type of blocker without the Noah Fant type receiving skills. If you know what I mean by that. Yeah. He's not. And what the coaches are starting to figure that out, which I'm surprised they didn't figure it out last year. But this year Fedoni's had just an awful year, and yeah. So Grandma Fedoni went off. So I don't know how much playing time. It depends on what kind of head coach Nebraska has if Fedoni plays, because Kirk, if once a family member goes off on Kirk, it's over, right?
Yeah.
so
what's the weather expected to be like Friday night? And also, by the way, night game at Kinnick. I mean, which is a rare thing in November. I mean, it's one thing to have like a 3:30 game, but this is a true night game. Friday, you know.
Which I think is going to be a huge. I think Iowa runs away with it. I think even with as bad as our pass defense has been, I think. Oh yeah, it is supposed to be very cold.
Oh my God, 20 degrees and 31.
Yeah, yeah, it's supposed to be very cold. Once Kelvin said that, I remember the wife said something about it.
It's supposed to be 80 degrees here on Thursday. Not to brag or anything, but
well, I'm here in Oklahoma City. Today's temperature was 72 degrees, very windy but warm wind. Felt really good. I found out tomorrow we're only going to be in the 50s and we're headed to the 20s on Thanksgiving Day.
I had to put some pants on the other day because we had gotten down to like 45 degrees as a low, but it warmed up to like 70. But
right. No, I mean, he's like I've told everybody, the quarterback at Nebraska 15 is a very accurate quarterback, but he puts the ball in very bad situations because he still struggles with reading.
Mm-hmm. So he says the O-line's not too good at Nebraska. Does this mean that Phil can send the house after?
I hope he does, just to help out, because like he really struggles under pressure. I disagree, Mike, but we'll see because I'll be live. So I disagree with you completely, Mike, but that's fine.
All the Iowa-Nebraska games have been close and decided at the end of the game recently.
Not all of them.
I was going to say, I mean, not all of them.
We had one of them we won like 33-7 back in like 20.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the recent years. Even the one we lost by a touchdown.
Yeah.
Well, right. But that was because.
But I seem to us remember kicking some field goals to win at the last minute in a couple of those games, including last year.
Couple.
Well, yeah.
We won with a field goal kicker we've never used and never used him since.
Yeah. Well, because of how good. I mean, the kickers, it's all about their brain, right? Mm-hmm. Was something happened with what's his name? The reason they only won by a last-second field goal was because the field goal kicker was missing everything, right? Yeah. So, 16 was 40-10.
17 was also a blowout.
Yeah,
in our favor. I remember that was a blowout that year.
A lot of recently they've been really close, but this is not that Nebraska team. They just took advantage of the schedule. They did well, right? But when they played good teams, they lost. I think Iowa has just changed. If Iowa uses the same type of game plan they used against Maryland, they're going to run away with it. And it's at night at Kinnick, where the fans are right on the visitor. Yeah. I think Raiola is going to be all messed up being at night in Kinnick with the fans on him. So I think that's going to be a big part of it. I think he throws a couple picks. The question is, will we stop the run game? If they're going to run a similar style with their new OC, which next year they're going to be running the air raid, I guarantee it. He's an air raid OC, but he understands. He understands what he has as far as his running backs, right, and his team. He may not put Rail in a lot of bad situations, like Iowa won't put Jackson in a lot of Stratton in a lot of situations. Mm-hmm. So it just depends. So it will depend on our DTs, right? If they can run right in the A gap like UCLA did, then, he's been good. Other than being a head coach, not a very good head coach, but everywhere he's been an OC, he's a Mike Leach product. So, yeah. No, but I see this as just if the DTs show up, it could be a UCLA type game. If we can't protect the A gap. Yeah. I mean, I really hope that we learn from the UCLA game and just protect the A gap. I just think Iowa can go run a ball all day on them. Yeah, but we're not going to run a lot in the A gap, Kelvin. You're right. Those two DTs are studs, which is why I had Nebraska winning 8 games. I thought their defense was going to be extremely good. Right? Mute that thing.
Sorry.
But you're right. But I don't think we'll run a lot in the A gap. And who was it that we ran? Oh, there's another team that we ran the ball all over that had really good DTs. So I can't remember who the hell it was. That was such a shocker that we were able to run the ball so well on them.
Oh, that was.
I can't remember who the hell it was.
Um,
Oh well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. We'll see about the game, but Nebby does have two really good DTs, Robinson and that wrestler dude that I can't pronounce his name. That wrestler dude.
you talking about the big white guy?
Yeah, they're both really good. Basically, they're mostly the whole defense. So.
Well, I'm wondering if we don't try to run a little more of that outside zone type stuff and not run right into the teeth of their defense.
I think they'll try it and just see what happens. But I think the game plan will probably be more outside runs.
Okay. Guys, what am I missing here? I'm on the defensive tackles that Kelvin keeps saying. He said for the 5th time and now for the 6th time he's put up there. He wants us to talk about it. I know you were talking about it, but what's going on? What did I miss? I was busy looking at something else.
Well, Paul and I literally just had a discussion about Nebraska's DTs.
I don't know. I know that, but he keeps posting it up there.
I think he just wants to reiterate the point that, they have really good defensive tackles.
They do. Their best 2 players on defense are their 2 inside defensive tackles.
Okay. All righty.
Those are the best. They're really good. But he probably, since he's saying UCLA, he probably thought I was talking about UCLA's defensive tackles when we were talking about UCLA's offense against Iowa's defense. When we were talking about the offense of Nebraska, we'll have to control the A gap.
Okay.
Oh, those messages are
okay.
old.
Thank you, Calvin. All right. Our secondary really does worry me largely because I don't know what the hell happened between last year and this year.
I know what happened.
Talk to us.
Well, I mean, we lost a NFL quality caliber cornerback, and then if we don't lose him to the NFL, then our 2 starting corners are Jamari and Cooper DeJean, right? That's pretty damn good.
Well, right, but I think what Mike's talking about is what I talked about on the live. But our defense is really confused, and it's Castro that's confused. There was Higgins that was confused. Like they legit had, like on that touchdown pass where Hall was probably supposed to be, the one that on the drag route, he came all the way across the field and went to the corner.
And then didn't Castro and Hall run into each other or something?
That was a different one. But yeah, you're right. But that was a good play call. I wouldn't call that confusion. It was just a good rub route. The receiver ran a great route. It was a good play call. But there was on that one touchdown where he dragged across the field and Hall and Castro, it was X. Hall and X were inside and nobody had the outside on that drag. I think it was his very first touchdown. Do you remember that one? And then he just ran to the corner after he caught it. But yeah, no, there were so many plays where our defense, even in that game, and it was like Higgins and Castro were covering the exact same guy. And that X and Hall, granted Hall, he gets confused a lot, right? We've seen that all season.
Yeah, but don't you appreciate the fact he got his first career interception?
No, I appreciate all of it. I don't appreciate him leaving receivers wide open. But
no, I know. But he's learning. Yeah, I hope he's learning.
But I think what Mike's talking about is what I talked about on the live when we all talked about it. Actually, almost everybody in here was on the live as well. That
I would have been, but you know me. When everything's on one phone, I can't go back and forth.
No, you're fine. I wasn't saying anything. Yeah, and Nwampa has brain cramps. We discussed how somebody said, I don't remember who it was, said that he's been a bust for a 5-star, and I kind of agree with him. He's not really a good safety. I think they should move him to wide receiver. I think he would be a very good wide receiver. He has great ball skills, but on defense, he just wants to make the play, right? He just wants to make a big play. He doesn't just do his responsibility, and he gets out of place.
So I don't think he'll be leaving for the NFL after this year. Looks like we got him back for a 4th year.
I mean, they won't even put him on the field unless they're in the 4-2-5. So no,
Yeah.
He's not.
How far the mighty have fallen.
Something else they pointed out during the game broadcast yesterday was we were playing more tight coverage, at least showing the DBs in more press yesterday, and maybe they were bailing at the snap into their zones, but
I think you're right. They did. I'm sorry, I'm pouring my drink. They did. They played more palms coverage. I don't know if you guys know what palms is. I can explain it if you want me to.
Please do.
Palms is okay. We discussed the cover 4, right? The quarters and cover 4 is the same, but when you go cover 4 palms means that you have outside. So you're gonna break off deep like in your normal cover 4. But if it's palms, the outside corners have outside and short, so they'll usually in palms coverage you drop deep and then read the defense. Palms coverage is completely based off of what the formation is, right? So on palms, you could just think in your mind base cover 4, but your outside corners will drop like they're in cover 4, but then come up. And like they based on what the offense is doing, right? So they'll confuse the quarterback by dropping back, saying, "Oh, this is cover 4," and then they'll come up. So it is like a cover 4, but all along the outside, that corner over there has all of that. So he's going to drop like he's going deep, but if there's anything coming short, he's got to get up there. So he can't go too deep. It's like a fake where he drops deep and then he comes up. And it seemed like they ran a lot of that. And I think that's where that's why that we were giving up a lot of different, like just inside the slant route, and just basically we were just trying not to give up the base. I think that's why Felton didn't have such a huge impact also, is because he did have his 2 touchdowns, but both his touchdowns were on brain fart. Well, no, one was a great route by him where Castro ran into whoever it was they ran into. But the other one was Hall was out of place. But they were just playing deeper. But I think they played a lot of palms. The corner was supposed to come up, but just didn't. It's what it looked like a lot to me. Because the linebackers didn't spread out like a normal cover 4. Your outside 2. Now I know Iowa's probably the 4-2-5. So when I'm saying out linebackers, I just mean they're outside guys, right? With Higgins in the middle. They didn't do that. So that tells me I think they were in palms. Sorry, that's long-winded. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. But
I got it.
Okay. Yeah. No fine. Okay, guys. Let's we're getting long. I did want to go long today, but I also want to go over our picks for the weekend and do our picks for next week.
Well, real quick, let me answer Mike.
Okay, go ahead.
Kelvin's right. He did run over Nwampa, but Mike, I think Castro is going to be a linebacker in the NFL. I think he's going to be a Brian Urlacher. If you remember right, Brian Urlacher played safety at New Mexico, and he got the NFL, and they were like, "You do not have ball skills." They put him at linebacker. I think Castro's ability to hit, his size, he doesn't have the hips to play corner. He really doesn't have the hips to play anything other than zone as far as the safety is concerned. So I think Mike will play. I think Castro will play linebacker. I think he'd be a really good linebacker, honestly.
Yeah, he could be a Troy Polamalu type player, where he's not a true safety, not a linebacker, that kind of hybrid, just disruptor on a defense
that just flies around. You don't really have a responsibility. I mean, he would have to play that kind of defense to where, Palmatu, like he never really had a response. His responsibility was go get the ball, go hit whoever has the ball. Like he didn't. Yeah, he was just flying all over the place. They blitzed him. So I can see Castro be a blitzer, even though I got so mad at him. Like it was a perfect play call. He was blitzing wide open. Do you remember that play? And then he instead of breaking down, he just did a flyby. Oh, yeah. Parker chewed his ass. I don't understand. I don't understand why DBs do that. When they blitz, they want to get there so bad.
Mm-hmm.
and then they do a flyby, right? And then they're like, oh, and they try to chase him down, but no, break, especially with a mobile quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So you get in there and you got to break down, especially ones that can't throw. This was against the backup. He was quick, he's a runner, but he can't throw. So break down and make him do something. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, the picks. You want to know how you did? You probably already know.
No, I don't. I was going to text you a couple of times because I was like, did I pick this team or not? I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So, Jason, you were 6-4 this week. You lost UCLA, Wisconsin, Colorado, and Army.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to grab a drink real quick.
Okay.
I believe in I'm very superstitious. I know I lose a lot of games on stupid picks like that, but I'm superstitious. I didn't want to pick against Army, even though I knew they were outmanned. But I just love Army, and now they can go on from here and still they can win out and finish season 11-1.
Yeah, well, and but you were smart enough to pick Arizona State and Illinois, which Paul and I did not. So, and that kind of reminds me about something else too. I'll wait till Paul gets back for his. I'm 5-5. I lost Rutgers, Minnesota, BYU, Colorado, and Wisconsin. Can't believe Wisconsin just got handled yesterday. What was going on with there? Okay.
Did you not watch the Iowa-Wisconsin game?
I know. It was Nebraska we're talking about. Anyway, going on.
It was
you were 8-2. Another fantastic week for you. You lost BYU and Notre Dame. No, I'm sorry. You did not lose Notre Dame. I don't know why I circled that. You lost Rutgers and BYU.
I was going to say, there's no way he picked Army. He's a Navy boy.
Yeah. Okay. So, you had the foresight to be on an island by yourself by picking Kansas and Nebraska both. That helped your cause this week. So, your islands do pay off once in a while.
Every now and then.
All right. And so, season record, I'm 71-27. Jason 64-34. Paul 60-38.
All right.
Damn.
Okay.
I thought you were going to be tied with me or something.
He's getting closer, but he'd have to have a bad week and you practically go undefeated for him to pass you. All right, let's go. Here's the games I picked out. You guys saw them if you looked at them earlier. Okie State at Colorado. Jason, go ahead.
I'm undefeated when I pick Okie State. And God, Colorado is too big for their britches. And I hyped him up last week. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, Shadur Sanders, if he doesn't get his mind right, he's going to screw himself up with the NFL. He was just a cocky little. He just wasn't playing right. The whole team was cocky and acting like that they were losing because of, the refs or something losing them. And they act like Iowa fans sometimes. It was just weird. I'm going to pick Colorado just because Oklahoma State doesn't. They just have a running back. That's legit all they have. Mm-hmm. And Alex Bowen, Oklahoma State's quarterback, he's in the wrong offense. He's an air raid quarterback, and what they're doing with him, it's not working. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to go with Colorado.
Okay.
That wasn't real, Kelvin.
Mm-hmm.
That was before Colorado figured stuff out. But yeah.
Paul.
So I love me some John Denver, right? And I'm feeling that Rocky Mountain High, right?
I love it.
So should I pencil in Okie State?
But I'm also 40 and I'm a man. I will take Oklahoma State.
I thought so. I thought that's where this was leading.
That's
why he's laughing so hard. Okay, guys. This one I think I took Colorado, by the way.
All right,
I think this one's a foregone collusion. Oh, Michigan at Ohio State, but I had to add it in there anyway. This is probably going to be one of their.
That's actually what you should do is do all Big Ten games. That would actually be. But
I wanted to, but most of the Big Ten games look like they're going to be lopsided, so I only picked a few that.
That's fine. I was just joking. Ohio State, across the board, I'm sure.
I took Ohio State myself. Paul? Should I pencil you in now for Michigan?
No, absolutely not. 100% no.
Okay. Here's one I thought was intriguing. South Carolina at Clemson. I don't know anything about either team, but they're both ranked.
Let's go back to that Michigan-Ohio State game, though, because I'm curious, whatever the spread is, take Michigan in the points. But Ohio State will win.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, just checking my blood sugar.
Okay. I took Clemson because they're at home for no other reason.
This is Clemson and who?
South Carolina versus Clemson. Paul.
Ooh. Where's the game?
At Clemson.
It's at Clemson. Oh, it's in Death Valley. Yeah, give me Clemson.
Okay, you guys. Lenore Sanders is he's starting to figure it out for South Carolina. And South Carolina has one of the fastest receivers. He's a freaking track champion. Mm-hmm. Like, he's breaking records. The next Olympics, he's going to run for the USA.
Okay.
God, South Carolina. But it is, I don't know if Sanders can be himself on the road at Clemson. I wonder what time this game is. I want to go. My brain tells me South Carolina, but I'm going to go with Clemson. I mean, I should go South Carolina because none of this matters. We don't make money.
Yeah, true.
But something.
Go with your heart. Go with your heart, not your head.
But something just tells me Clemson will find a way at Death Valley.
Yeah. Notre Dame at USC, and I know that half of Bakersfield will be at that game because they're all Notre Dame fans. But anyway, I took Notre Dame. Jason, you can go first this time.
Notre Dame.
Paul, want to give that Trojan horse a little love?
No.
It's in LA.
I'll take Notre Dame.
Okay.
I pondered it for a moment, but I'm like,
all right. This game is the winner of this game gets to go to the the SEC title game, Texas versus Texas A&M at Texas A&M.
Doesn't matter.
Jason, you want one?
Can Casey Wigman pull it out of it? I'm going Texas. That would just be stupid, but Texas A&M is getting better.
Yes, they are.
Didn't they just lose yesterday, Texas A&M?
They were in a battle, but I don't know how it ended.
I think they lost.
Okay.
Horns, baby.
I watched the first half. But
they may have lost, but the thing I read on them is the winner of this game gets to face Georgia in the title game.
I'll take Texas.
I'm taking Texas as well. Okay.
By the way, the vaunted SEC, you have a mediocre Oklahoma team just smack Alabama around, and you have Texas, who is probably going to play in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me again how great the SEC is at everything.
Right, and Oklahoma just beat Alabama. I watched that whole game.
That's what I was saying.
That didn't only beat them; they crushed them.
Auburn beat Texas A&M in overtime.
Yeah. And yet Texas A&M still has a chance to go to the title game. Who would have thought? Okay, I took Texas as well. How about this one? Guys, K-State at Iowa State. Iowa State needs to win this game, and they're in the playoffs. Not the playoffs, Big 12 title game. They're automatically in there against probably Arizona State.
There's 4 teams. Colorado can get in there, too.
Yes, they can. But Iowa State is now in a position because Colorado lost.
Yeah.
They're now in a position that all they got to do is win this game.
Iowa State is in the same position Iowa was in 2 years ago when they lost to Nebraska.
Right.
I'm going to go with Iowa State, though. even though Kansas State, where's it at?
Iowa State.
Yeah,
It's in Ames.
it's at the
At
high
the
school
Tri-Stadium. That should be rocking and rolling Saturday night.
It's a high school stadium in Texas. There ain't no rock and roll in the name.
I'm going to go ahead and take Iowa State just because I do want them to win.
So
that will give them their 10 wins. That's the most wins they've ever had, right?
Yep. It'll be the first time in history that they've ever had 10 wins.
Yeah.
But Kansas State, to be honest, Kansas State was the only team I had beating Iowa State. So I'm going against the grain on this one.
Kansas State?
No, I'm going with Iowa State.
Oh, okay.
You know, I like to pick and choose my opportunities to go out on a limb, and I have no reservations about taking Kansas State in this game. You know,
I don't know. There might be a karma factor here. Let's put this together. Will Howard, they benched Will Howard for the kid that you're going to watch play this Saturday. He was a 4-star out of Kansas City. He's really good. He's a runner, though. Like, he runs like a 4.3 40. He doesn't throw the ball very well. But Will Howard, who got benched, went to the portal because he wasn't going to play, ended up at Ohio State, and now leading Ohio State to, the Big Ten title game. And so there's some karma in the world. Kansas State's going to –
I just don't trust Iowa State in a situation like this, to be honest. I mean, it's uncharted territory for them. You have some of these blue blood teams, Ohio State, Michigan, whatever. They play in these situations all the time, and they know how to play in those situations.
I mean, you're right. They have a true sophomore quarterback, right? He's never been in this situation. You're 100% right. Now, Kansas State on the other side, the same thing, true sophomore quarterback. So it'll be two very young quarterbacks going at each other. But like you said, they've never been in this situation. Kansas State has. Like, as a team, they've been in this situation, but their quarterback hasn't.
And I feel like all the pressure is on Iowa State.
I feel like you're right. The way this season went, Kansas State's already been in a down year. Like, they were supposed to have the same year that Iowa State's having right now, and they started the year just bad, but they've been getting better and better. I think it had a lot to do with how they're using their quarterback. I mean, they started using him like they were using Will Howard. None of it made sense. But now they're using him as a running quarterback. But I'm going to stick with Iowa State.
Sometimes being a spoiler is really great motivation, honestly.
Yeah, the coach has, a way to motivate him to let's not let Iowa State get their first 10-win season on us in their history.
Hey, let's be the guys that stop them from getting to where they want to go and whatever, So.
Hell yeah.
I mean,
okay, guys.
I'll take it here, but
go ahead. Which one are you're sticking with Kansas State?
I'm sticking with Kansas State.
Okay.
In
All right,
fact, I'm even more confident in it now than I was 5 minutes ago.
Okay. How about Oregon? I mean, Washington at Oregon. I just took Oregon. Obviously, they're going to win.
Where's it at?
Oregon.
Oh, yeah. I'll go Oregon.
The only question I have is, do they win by 30 or 35?
It will just depend on what team shows up for Oregon, right? I mean, they had a game where they damn near lost to an unranked team. Who the hell was it just a week ago?
Wisconsin. They won 16-13.
And then Wisconsin goes out and get their shit kicked. Sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, so it depends on is Oregon going to show up like saying, okay, I'm going to beat the piss out of this team? Or are they going to show up bored because they're already ready for the playoffs or the Big Ten championship, right? They're already done with the regular season. They're ready to get to where they're headed. So
this is kind of like a rivalry game for them, though, because they've always been playing Washington and Oregon for years, and they've always either one of them or both of them have been pretty decent.
That's just it. I mean, they know each other, right? This isn't like Big Ten, Pac-12 team or whatever, Pac-10 team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Oregon has a lot to play for here because I mean they're trying to secure the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So I think they're going to come out motivated. I think the wake up call against Wisconsin is going to motivate them. All right. So Paul, Oregon.
Yes.
Quack, okay. Quack. Minnesota at Wisconsin. I took Minnesota. I believe Minnesota is going to not. I mean, they're going to make Wisconsin non-bowl eligible now.
Yeah, I'm going Minnesota. I agree with you.
So, rivalry game at Wisconsin. It's not going to be the noon game because Michigan Ohio State will be your big noon game.
It's on Good Friday, 11 o'clock. Not Good Friday. I mean Black Friday at 11 o'clock.
Oh, they're playing Black Friday at noon. Okay.
Yeah, I found this interesting that we used to have only one of a couple of games on Black Friday, and now they got a whole crap load on Black Friday. Yeah. We used to get a national audience all to ourselves.
Yeah. Now we got there'd only be 2 or 3 games, and Iowa would probably be Iowa Nebraska was kind of the feature of the 3 games, the 2 or 3 that would be on.
Yeah.
But okay, so it's a noon game at Wisconsin. If it's going to be cold and crappy in Kinnick, it's going to be cold and crappy in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. But they're used to it, Wisconsin and Minnesota.
And I feel like maybe Wisconsin may have kind of mailed it in, especially after what happened there with Nebraska. So, yeah, give me the Gophers.
Okay. All right, well, here's one. Fresno State at UCLA. UCLA is 4-7. Fresno State 6-5. I took Fresno State just because I think I don't know why. This is not one of Fresno State's better teams, but I'm going to go on a limb and say Fresno State.
Does the UCLA that played Iowa show up or not? Right?
I think not. They have nothing to play for now. They're going to mail it in.
And they're coming off they played their guts out against USC and lost.
Mm-hmm. Right. But they were playing for bowl eligibility still. Now they can no longer get eligible.
Mm. Yeah.
Plus, USC's not a great team this year either.
I'll take Fresno, I think.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like I was talking you into that, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, from a talent perspective, yeah, I think, UCLA probably should have more talent. But from a motivational side, I think Fresno probably sees this as an opportunity to take down a Big Ten, Pac-12 team, and yeah, if I was Fresno, I'd be very motivated.
Thank you, Calvin. I know they don't actually mail it in. They get hurt if they do, but I'm just saying that the motivation's no longer there because the best they can do is watch football on TV over the holidays. But the coaching staff can go out. Good news is the coaching staff can get an early start on the transfer portal, on recruiting.
I'm going to go with UCLA.
Okay.
Just because I've watched a lot of Fresno State, and they're just not. I mean,
they're not good this year.
And I mean, I did watch them beat Colorado State this last week, and they just so many open holes running the football that just are not going to be there against UCLA. I don't believe. This is a first-year head coach. I don't think UCLA will mail it in like you're saying, just because I think they're playing for their coach, right? It's a change of culture. Like, it's just different at UCLA. They have their moments, and then they have their not so moments, right? So, but I think this is the last game of their quarterback's a senior. man, he's transferred like 3 different times, but he's pretty good. He started at small schools and just kind of worked his way up to UCLA. I'm going UCLA.
Okay. All right.
I just think UCLA can pound the ball right at Fresno all day.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's our final game. Of course, I need the score. Nebraska at Iowa. We're all probably picking Iowa unless somebody surprises me here, Paul. I took Iowa 26-20. I think it'll be a close game, and I think both teams, because Iowa's proved that they allow teams to move the ball up and down the field on them. But I'm proud of their defense for this last game for coming up with the stops when they needed it. Okay. Paul, I'm looking at you, buddy.
It's going to be 20 degrees. The wind's going to be whipping. I don't care if you've got Joe Montana or Dan Marino back there, quarterback for Nebraska. The team that runs the ball better is going to win the football game. Iowa has KJ. I will take the Hawkeyes. 20-13.
Okay. You figured the cold weather will hold the scoring down.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever played in the cold and gotten hit. It hurts. I mean, getting hit in the cold, it hurts.
Is it hard to hang onto that ball too, right?
Yeah, the ball's slippery. Although nowadays they use a towel, the ball's still warm, right? Mm-hmm. But I got Iowa winning 24-10. And I don't think it's going to be that close even. Like, I mean, score will be 24-10, but I don't think we're going to feel like
it was that close.
Yeah.
That was the way I felt yesterday.
Right. That's how I felt the whole game. It just felt like Iowa had control the whole time.
It felt, yeah.
Especially, I felt like that too until they got up 16-0, and then Kirk decided to go into Kirk ball again.
But he didn't. He didn't go into Kirk mode. He called timeouts there at the end of the half and forced Maryland to punt from their own end zone, and then we get the field goal out of it. I mean, I thought Kirk was more aggressive.
Actually, I'm sorry. It's not Kirk ball. I thought the defense went to Kirk ball. Well, because I thought they were playing more of a prevent off that.
They had the clock on their side.
They had the clock on their side, but I don't think that's what they're doing. That's what I explained. I think they were in palms coverage the whole game, and I think the new quarterback is the reason. I think the new quarterback they didn't plan for, just like I said with Sullivan, when people made fun of me, when I was telling them, and people are like, oh, Northwestern already knows him. They didn't plan for him. The players don't know Sullivan, right? They didn't plan for him playing. And Iowa did not plan for this kid playing. And it was a completely different. Once that quarterback got into it and was figuring out what Iowa was doing, then Iowa just wasn't quite sure what he was going to do because he's not a thrower. He's more of a runner, right? So, and I also think Iowa's secondary just gets confused sometimes, and that quarterback took advantage. So I don't think they went into no prevent. The defense was the same, which is why you saw touchdown passes, like same type of deal. It wasn't like that he was just picking us apart all the way down the field, not like they were playing prevent, giving them everything. But I'm with Paul on this one. I just think this quarterback took advantage of sometimes when Hall was out of place, when Higgins and Castro were covering the same damn dude, and there was leaving a guy. I think it was Castro that screwed up, if I'm being honest, because the guy they left wide open looked more like a safety would be covered, not the linebacker. So that's a shout out to what Mike was talking about. So, yeah, I think the Maryland game went – I mean, you could say it was Kirk ball because they dominated the whole thing. From start to finish, Iowa literally dominated that game.
At one point, they had said, and I think it was with, 3 minutes or so to go in the second quarter, Iowa had like 13 first downs, and Maryland had run 8 offensive plays.
Well, I think Mike or somebody, I can't remember who was on the live. I don't think it might not have been Mike. There was somebody else that was on the live that kept giving like the total yards. Okay, the total yards update was, and it was like Iowa 168 and Maryland was like 13 or something. Somebody just kept giving the update. It was amazing watching. That was a complete domination. And so until
were you surprised that we were able to hold the number one passing team down to just, average?
I think we discussed it in our pregame. We were actually nervous about that in our pregame, weren't we?
Yes, we were.
I was surprised, but I'm also surprised when the DBs are so far out of place. It doesn't make sense.
I once, it was kind of well known that their quarterback was damaged goods. And, I'm sure, Coach, you can speak to this better than I can, but I mean, your thumb's kind of important on your throwing hand.
No, yeah. You're right. You're right. No, that's 100% accurate.
And I mean, they and just Loxley, he's just a terrible game day coach. I can't say that enough.
Can't stress that enough, huh?
I mean, if I'm being honest, if you look over the team's starting 22s, the offense and defense, you'd probably want 14 or 15 of Maryland's starters over 4 or 5 of Iowa's.
And skill position players.
Especially in the skill position. That's mostly what I'm talking about. But
no, you're right.
I mean, our best wide receiver yesterday was a Northwestern reject.
For real. No, it's been like that most of the year, right?
Right.
I mean, and they had Felton, and man, if Felton was on our team, holy cow.
Yeah. It was funny how the announcers were making fun of Gill being our number one receiver for the all year, and he only had 300 plus yards of receiving yards, and they were kind of making a joke out of it when most receivers have over 1,000 yards by now.
Well, they were like, yeah, this is really good. He has 336 yards receiving, but the problem is we're in week 13.
Right.
Talk about a dig at Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not wrong.
At least our leading receiver is actually a receiver this year.
Right.
When was the last time that was the case? Usually it's a tight end. So
right. Does Iowa even average more than 100 yards passing? Does anybody know the answer to that?
I doubt we do.
They had 76 yards passing yesterday.
No, I understand that. I'm saying, does Iowa average more than 100? Like, it's got to be close to 100 because Cade barely hit 100.
My guess is no, because I think only a few times, 2 or 3 times, have they gone over 100. They've always been under 100, no matter what quarterback's been out there.
Yeah, I can just think of like the 150-yard game Sullivan had, right?
Right.
And Cade had another game where I think he got really close to 200. So they might average 100 because of those games against the bad teams, right, that we actually were able to throw the ball.
So here's what our receiving core did yesterday. Gill, 4 catches for 29 yards. That's our leading receiver. Our second leading receiver, 2 for 15 yards. Everybody else caught 1.
Yeah.
Well, and again, we didn't really have to throw the football.
Well, our game plan is not to throw anymore unless we have to.
Well, Lester, I think Kelvin actually talked about this in our preseason as far as commenting, but Lester is not a throwing OC. He loves to run the football, right? That's just his thing. And I absolutely hate that we're in a phone booth. I absolutely hate it. But I think it was Kelvin that actually said that Lester believes being in the phone booth opens up the outside, because you have more. But in my opinion, it just brings the defense in, and it kind of shows. Granted, the running game opens up because the defense is stacked, right? And it lets KJ get outside.
Yeah.
So not running. Go ahead.
Or all it takes is, what one missed tackle or one guy like say Logan Lee or whatever getting to that second and third level, and KJ's gone or whoever the running back
there's
is.
nobody back there. No, you're right. Which is why, like in high school defenses, a lot of people love that 4-4 defense. However, if the safety misses a tackle, like he's gone, right? Because everybody is up. You just have that one safety in your 4-4 because you have your 3 DBs. No, same type of scenario, right? Maryland didn't use that, but for whatever reason. But yeah, when a team brings everybody up, that's probably a lot of the reason KJ has those long runs, right? Because once he gets through the line, there's no one else there.
And if you go back and rewatch, because I actually watched the game 3 times. I watched it live yesterday. I watched it again this morning when I woke up, and then I caught the BTN in 60 version before the Iowa women's basketball game. So I literally have seen the game 3 times. And the thing that I really took away, and we talked about it earlier, with Hayden Large playing kind of that tight end, wing back type position, where it almost created like an unbalanced line. And I think that it's subtle, right? Like, and if you're not really looking for it, but what the defense has to account for that those extra bodies on the left or the right. And so now you've got guys shaded one step this way, because of that. Then they're pulling Hayden Large back across the formation after the snap, and he's just blowing the weak side D end up, or he's blowing up that weak side linebacker, and those cutback lanes are there. And that's why you're seeing KJ get 8, 10, 12 yards, or Moulton explode
for 60 or whatever it was.
Yeah. By the way, guys, to answer your question, I looked it up. We're averaging 133 yards passing. I cannot believe it's that high.
Well, like I said, if you think about it, because you remember, there's not a whole lot of football games, right? They've only played 11 games.
Mm-hmm.
So you play 11 games, and you have one game where you throw for 200, another game where you throw for 150. Obviously, it's going to –
I think the best game any one of our quarterbacks had was 150 yards.
No, I think Cade had a better game than that against a bad team in the beginning of the year. I mean, I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Cade did. Then Sullivan had that game against UCLA when they didn't cover any receivers, right? They just said, I'm shutting everything down at the line of scrimmage, and we'll see what you can do. And he was able to hit a play over the top. But
yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a little high, but you never know. I mean, I don't keep those stats. Somebody's paid at University of Iowa to keep those stats. So,
and don't forget,
listen, this is why against Illinois State, Cade had 251 yards passing.
Yeah,
that's why. That
definitely boosts the average. And then we had maybe it was against them where it wasn't Bowie. Who was it that had, maybe it was, he had his first catch was a touchdown, and it was like 38 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
No,
it was it was Seth Anderson. It was Seth Anderson on that deep ball from Cade against Northwestern.
No, I'm thinking of a different catch. I don't even remember who the quarterback was at this point. It might have been Cade. It was Howard. There we go.
I mean, Howard had that slant that Cade threw him the ball where he went. That was against Illinois State, I bet.
I probably was.
Yeah. But Seth Anderson had the longest catch of the season against Northwestern, which went for like 40, right?
Yeah.
Before I think Gill passed that against UCLA on that one play, right? But to tell you a little bit more, Cade also had 176 against Troy. So that's why
Okay.
it's up to 133.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Can we take out the non-conference games?
Yeah,
Right. If you take out the non-conference games, I was passing. Woo!
we're about 80 yards a game.
Yeah.
We can cover.
All right.
Well, that's not, you know, that it's not good, but it's also we're talking Big Ten football, Big Ten defenses, Big Ten weather, and which is why I the last thing I really would ever want to see is Iowa go to some type of spread, throwing the football all over the field, because I just don't think it'll work great in November. And unless you're getting games at UCLA or
Shut up, Kelvin. Bite your tongue, Kelvin.
So,
but yeah, no, I mean, it's a change of philosophy. Like Brian wanted to throw the football. Brian threw the ball more than any OC under Kirk, right?
Yeah.
And
look what Maryland did yesterday. They wanted to throw the football all over the field in 30-mile-an-hour winds with a 4-finger quarterback.
Right. No, you're right. But yeah.
Yeah. And people may not like, Kirk ball. They may be bored of it, but damn, the guy wins. We especially in November. We went. What they say now? We're 20-3 in our last 23 games in November.
21-3, I think, is what.
21-3 now.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just think we just lost UCLA, that was one of them. So they only had 2 losses coming into this November, right?
And this is going back to 2019 or something. I mean,
yeah, 2020, yeah, something like that. But
sometime back when Nebraska last played in a bowl game, I mean, it was.
So what you're saying though is you don't want to be Wisconsin.
Right.
You don't want to bring in the air raid to Wisconsin. You don't want to do that to Iowa.
I really don't. I don't think it's a winning formula.
I mean, it's not working. I think it depends on the coach, because Joe Tiller did it at Purdue, right? But he's one of the few that has brought that style. He didn't run the air raid, but I don't even know what he called his offense. His was Joe Tiller's offense, right?
Right.
Like he didn't have a name for his offense.
He also had Drew Brees, and
he always had a good quarterback, but Drew Brees, obviously, his 4 years helped a lot. But yeah, bringing in Lonkin at Wisconsin to bring in the air raid, his air raid's not. I mean, it's not built for Wisconsin. He didn't want to run the football at all. So,
all right, guys.
When it's 35 degrees and the winds are blowing at 20 miles an hour, like that's a typical mid-late November weather, right? 30s and windy, maybe rainy, maybe sleety, maybe
Let's see.
snowy.
That's because Thanksgiving's ended up in the last week in November, where before it's the second last week, because they always the 4th Saturday. So I mean the 4th Thursday, and Thanksgiving's always mild. It's never nasty. But Thanksgiving this year is going to be nasty because it's a week later.
But in general, like, it's just, to me, like, I'd rather have an offensive identity that is built to win in November. I mean, because if you can get yourself to that point where the games matter in November, I think you're more set up for success if you can run the football and play defense.
Yeah. Guys, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, and I think this is one of the longest podcasts we've ever done. I'm getting kind of tired. I wouldn't mind ending this.
Yeah, I've got work in the
day. If there were more guys, if there were more people other than Calvin and whoever the second person is that's not showing up, I would stay longer if they wanted to interact more, but there's only 2 of them. I think we chased everybody away when we started our picks.
Yeah, that could be.
So maybe I got to do something different about the picks because,
Maybe we
It is
need
what it is.
Maybe lead with the picks.
Yeah.
Say, hey guys, stick around. We're going to do the picks first, and then we'll get to the stuff you really want to know. Line up
Right.
your questions.
I mean, maybe you should.
Yeah. All right, guys. I just want to remind everybody, if you made it this far, thank you. We are hit that hit the share. I mean, the subscribe button. Can you tell I'm getting tired? Old man syndrome. Anyway, hit that subscribe button, like button, share button, and just leave a comment. And I'll come back and answer you later. I want to thank Paul and Jason for all their input tonight. It's been a fun show. So I appreciate you guys being here, and thank you. So we're going to end it now. Oh, there is no show this week until next Sunday. Keep that in mind.
Bye, Terry.
Bye.
All right, Terry. Bye, guys. Go Hawks.
Yeah.